Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today I thought that we would work with some embossing folders and to create some beautiful backgrounds that we can then use on cards. So we're using two of the embossing folders in the annual catalogue. One is the leaves, which is a, what's it called? Have we got the name of it in here? Yes, it'll be underneath here. It is the Layered Leaves Dynamic Textured Embossing Folder. Now, the dynamic textured embossing folders are, if we look at them, are very thick. So you only need to put them through your Big Shot with one plate. And if you spritz the paper first, it softens it and it gives you that extra texture. So I've already done that, but you can see you've got that extra texture in there, whereas this is slightly more raised than the others. So it gives that three-dimensional look. And then this one, which is the, to read them out, the Woodlands Textured Impressions Embossing Folder, is the lovely tree background, and that is you can run that through as normal because it's not, let me show you, it's that thickness. So if I get them both out, you can see the difference between the dynamic and the other, which is why you only need one plate with one. And so if I put them down like that, I hope you can actually see the distance in the thickness of them. So those are the two that we are going to use today. And we are going to use some of our sponges. We're going to use some of our shimmer paint. And we're going to use some ink pads. So this is all about building up textures and layers. And I've actually done half of this one so that you've got a bit of an idea. And you can see you have this gorgeous shimmer on the beech leaves. So let's get this started. We need some ink pads. So I'm going to start with, let's start with Coastal Cabana on this. You can start paler with Pool Party, but I'm just going to do it with the, what did I say it was? Coastal Cabana. And you literally, with a sponge, just sponge through the gap in the middle between the branches. Now, you will see that it is going to go over some of the raised parts, but you don't actually need to worry about that too much. So let's just go through on this, just build it up as you go. And as I say, you can take as much time as you want with this. I'm just doing this fairly quickly so you just get the idea. Now, if you find that you can see it's going quite tight up against the edge here. If you want it to be a little bit more raised near that edge, or for the sponging to be right up against this edge, then just turn the cardstock round, because you find that naturally you take things up to the top. So if I turn this round this way and just go again, it will take it right up to the edge of the raised area. So that's that part. And then we are going to take the Night of Navy. So let's take my Night of Navy out and use another piece of sponge, and we are then going to take that up onto the top part and blend the two colours through. So again, you can see it's going over the raised birch trees, but that really doesn't matter. So as I say, blend it through, take it through on the top, blend it through again, and where you have the joins, just sort of run it through so that they're coming quite nicely and are blended through, so you don't have quite such a stark line on there. Okay, so that's that one, and then we are going to quickly do the leaf one. Now in the background of this one, I think I'm going to just do I want this to be fairly subtle, so I'm going to just do we're going to use different shades of green. So let's take a lemon lime twist and an old olive. I think will go quite nicely. So let's take the lighter first, and I am going to use this same sponge because I can just go through first, and this time it really doesn't matter where you are putting this, because you are just going to randomly take it through right the way across the card, so that you are going into your raised areas as well as the background, because what we want to do is we want the background to be different shades of green, and then we want the raised parts to be in the shimmer mist. Okay, so that's the lemon lime twist. Let's now take the old olive, and I'm using the same sponge because I am just working through on the colours. Now you can always wash your sponges afterwards. You can cut one of our sponges, and they come in a pack of 3. So you can then cut them into 3s, 6s, 8s, however many pieces you want to. The nice thing is that because it's a wedge, you don't get so much all over your fingers. So I'm just going to take this through, fill in those spaces, and you can see I'm doing it quite quickly. You can spend a little more time building it up, but in reality you don't need to do too much on there. I think that's quite nice on there. And then we're just going to take a darker one. So let's have a look at, let's take Mossy Meadow. You can put as many different shades as you want in there. What you're wanting to do is to create a background that has lots of different colours blending through on here. So I'm just taking some of these little spaces where I haven't got quite as much ink in there. You can leave a little bit of white space if you want to. It's entirely up to you. What you're trying to do is to create a rather nice variegated tones of green. So you've got some lights and you've got some darks in between. Okay, so I think that'll do for that one. So that's all our colours that we're going to use at the moment. So let's pop these ones out of the way and bring these 2 back. Now we're going to go on to our shimmer paints. Now I would suggest using one of our large blocks. You need to have our blender pen because it has a fine point, and you need a paintbrush of some sort. So I'm going to finish or carry on with this one. This one I've done in the copper. So shake it, there's a little ball bearing inside, and what that does is it ensures that everything is mixed. And then I am just going to take the colour from the lid. So I'm going to put my pot on there, I'm going to take my paintbrush, and I'm just going to pick a little bit up. Now I dab it off because you don't want to get too much on there. Start on the side and you are literally just going to stroke it. Now I suggest you can always build up on the layers. What you don't want is for the colour to go across onto that background. So you need to just run it up quite gently, because as I say, you can always do several layers if you want to. So I'm just doing this, as I say, fairly quickly. It doesn't take too much time, but you're just going to run it up the side. And you can see I'm only concentrating on one side. because what we can do is we can turn the cardstock over, take a little bit more off, just dab it off a little bit, and again just gently stroke it, and then turn it round. Now we've got a little piece on here that's coming out, so we can take this one very gently across, and you can see if you stroke it gently you can build it up and you're not going across onto the background. So turn it round on the other way and then run it down on the opposite side. By doing that, your brush is going right up against the edge of the embossed area, and you can get quite a nice even line without going over the edge. So just take it up and just bring it down, say picking a little bit up as you go. It really is the less is more at the moment, because as I say, you can always add extra, but you can't take it away. All right, so let's go on to this big one. Now this big one, because there's a little bit more surface area, you don't need to take it off to reduce the colour quite as much, because you've got a bigger area to work with. You're not going to have as much risk of it going off the paper onto the background, so you get those sort of splodgy bits, which we don't want on this. We want it quite neat and clean on there. So I'm going to take all of them in this direction now. So we'll just take them up like this, and as I say, I am rushing it a little bit, but it's still not going over the edge. So take a little bit up. You need to have a fairly straight hand, but again, I find that if I rest my my hand or my wrist on the side of my work surface, it gives me less of a shake. Okay, so we're going to turn it round and we're going to do these two on the other side. And again, because it's a bigger area, I don't need to take it off quite as much, so I can just literally run it across, taking it up like that. I'm running it through. It's quite relaxing doing this, and as I say, the effect is absolutely beautiful. It's the sort of thing that would look great as a background on this one, obviously with it being the trees. It would look great with our winter woods. It would look great with just a big sentiment over the centre. And again, once you've done it, what I've done is I've cut the actual cardstock exactly the size of the folder, because I quite like to cut down my pieces afterwards. And with this one this side, you can actually get two quite easily out of this one piece of cardstock. So as I say, you can always cut it down rather than making it too small. It also helps with the embossing. You get a better image if you take the whole sheet and do it that way, and then cut it down afterwards. It also means that if you want to just take some small pieces, this measures 6.5 inches. Is it 6.5, 6.25 inches? I'll have a look in a minute. Square, so it's quite a big piece. So you could make 4 3x3 panels out of this if you wanted to, and put a little tree in the middle of each one, however you'd like to do it. Let's turn it over on this side. Now this might be a little bit wet still. You will find that Shimmer Paint takes just a little bit longer to dry, so you need to sort of leave it for a little while before you rub your hand over it, otherwise you end up with shimmery bits everywhere. Okay, now we've got this little tiny piece in the centre, so we need to be a little bit careful with this one. So we can just run it through carefully because it's a small piece. And again, very lightly taking your time because you can always build it up a little bit more. And just through on there, so you can see I'm just taking the top part of the paintbrush, so I'm not getting anything through onto that background. Take it up to the top there. All right, now we've still got the branches and things to do. Now if I use a paintbrush, I'm going to get it on the outside, so this is where our blender pen comes in, because you can take the colour just a little bit, just on the tip, and we can then go through on to the little branches that come out. So you can literally just stroke them, and because the point is very fine on this, it means that you are just getting the colour exactly where you want, right up to those tiny little points. So just up to those points like this, and it is quite easy to do, to just get it through, because you're only literally just touching it, and you just pick up a little piece each time you go. So even on these big pieces here, you can just blend it through into where you've done it with the paintbrush, and then just take it up on this bit, take it right to the point. And as I say, you're not then getting the shimmer paint onto the background at all. I found when I tried to do it with sponges and things, it's very easy to get it right onto the background, and I wanted something that looked almost like a completed picture, so I wanted it to be quite precise. I didn't want it to have that sort of watercolour background. There's all sorts of techniques that you can do with these embossing folders. But as I say, I wanted this background to really stand out and look a statement piece in itself, so that, as I say, all it would need would be a sentiment in the centre, and it stands alone quite easily. As I say, you can use different layers and things. You can use our copper foil to add some different layers and things on there, but as you can see, you now have a really lovely background, and I don't know how much of the shimmer paint shows, but it looks absolutely beautiful. So let's move on to the other one that we did, and this one we are going to do exactly the same, but I want to have some more tones in there. So I'm going to take the gold first of all, and I'm going to just go through onto these larger leaves like this. And it's slightly more difficult to do it with this one because the way the textured or the three-dimensional, you have more of a rounded lip on it. So again, it's just gently turning your paper as you go. And you can see I'm just doing the leaves on this. So we'll take the leaf on here. Let's take some more. And as I say, take the excess off. Move the leaf. Just go over the centre of the leaf here. And I will only do half of this because I think it will take too long. But I wanted you to get an idea of the colour variation that you can achieve. So we're going to use several of the shimmer paints to achieve the look we want. So these are going to be the copper ones. And again, the shimmer paint just adds such a different element and colour to your embossing folders. So let's take this one up here as well. The nice thing as well is that it is opaque, which means that you can't see through it. So you can, as I say, sponge the whole of the background, and then you're just taking the shimmer paint over the top. Okay, we're going to stop on there for this one. And then we are, oh, before we've done this bit, we just need to, says me, to do the center of these, or the spine of the leaf. We'll use the blender pen and we can just run it down the center like that, and it gives a very fine line, which is exactly what we want, and we can do it down there. Now, as I say, I always turn things so that I'm working the way my natural hand will go. And take that off on there, and then we're just going to take this one down into that point on that leaf. Okay, so we've got 3 of those done. Now, as I said, if you just take a scrap of paper, you can clean your aqua painter off. Now, I've chosen to use an older blender pen, because I don't need the actual blending solution as much in here. So it is an older one, but as I say, as you keep moving it, it will come completely clean. And then we can get the next colour out. So the shimmer paint comes in a variety of different colours. So now I'm going to get some of the Vegas Gold out, shake it exactly the same way, and just take the lid off. And I always use it out of the lid because I find it easier, and you get so much in the lid. And I'm just going to literally just wipe this brush and use the same brush, because I need to clean it in water straight away afterwards. So we're going to pick up some of the gold, and again using our clear block, which will wash easily. And then we are going to pick up some of these leaves in the gold. So you've got 2 different colours coming on here. And again, just taking it across. Ensure that you don't, as I say, don't pick up too much, because what you don't want is for there to be so much that it's not going to, it's going to go onto the edges. So, just take this through on here, and again, the finer the paintbrush, the easier it is. But as I say, it's quite a relaxing thing. If you're somebody who enjoys colouring, doing this is quite nice as well. It reminds me of some of these copper paintings that you see, which are absolutely beautiful. And this is probably what part of it inspired me to do this. I thought, oh, I love these, the copper foil paintings that you see. And I thought that this would make a beautiful background. So again, just come through onto this bit. You can put as little or as much as you want on there. And then we're going to get the blender pen out again to just go through on those leaf stems. So just take it straight into the pot and just run it down like that. And you can see this is a very fine little stem on here, but using the blender pen you can quite easily just run it along, and you'll get the colour in, and you're not taking it off and spreading it everywhere. Okay, so that's a couple of gold ones on there. And then let's take the next one, which is this is the frost white. So again, because we've used sponges, we've sponged the background. And again, I'm just cleaning my brush off on here, because it doesn't matter that we've got still a little bit on here. Take some out. And again, put the excess off. Now, the white isn't going to show quite as much, but you can build up the layer of it so that it does give that really nice frost white shimmer. And just take it through on those leaves. If you think you're going to go across too much on there, in fact, I might on that one, I might just do, let's just do a bigger one here, and then I can show you the smaller part. But let's build that up on here. Take that one, which is quite a big one, and as I say, spend time doing this. It's like colouring. The more time you spend, the better the results. But I just thought it would make a beautiful background. And what I will do is I will come back on my next video and we'll show you some cards that we can make using these backgrounds. So take this one down on here, on there, so you've got that lovely white coming through, which I think is absolutely beautiful. The combination of all of the shimmer paints together is absolutely lovely. And again, we're going to take our blender pen, dip it through so we can just come down onto these little edge pieces that are very difficult to pick up, and just run that through in on there like that. Now I would think that probably to complete all of this will probably take you about an hour or so, because as I say, you can build it up as much as you want, but I just wanted to show you enough of it so that you could see exactly how it was going to look. And as I say, on these ones we can just, because they're quite small, the blender pen is absolutely lovely for getting into these tiny little areas, and embossing folders just make that real three-dimensional look. So I'm just going to finish this little one off, and then I'll show you the other one, which will have dried off a little bit now, and take it up through on here like that, which looks beautiful. Okay, so big tip, clean everything off as soon as you've finished, because when the shimmer paint dries it does dry quite hard and it's more difficult to get off. But let me show you. You can see on this one, as I say, you have that lovely background which you can then cut down into sections. You can do all sorts with, and I will come back and show you something that I've made using this background. And here we have, again, looking at the lovely colours, you can imagine those in little panels as backgrounds, and again I will come back and show you on there. But I just wanted to say that, as I say, another fun background to do for you, and very easy, just using our ink pads and the lovely shimmer paints. So thank you so much for watching me, and do look forward to seeing you again. Bye bye.